Yes. Your reputation was not unwarranted.
And my fee?
Such a large bounty for such a small package.
Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. The 5 points I articulate are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and in the spirit of the holiday season, we're gonna have some very special Christmas-themed reviews. Today, we're taking a look at the Star Wars Black Series Holiday Edition Mandalorian and Scout Trooper. Starting off with the packaging, and it's a more festive version of the Black Series window box. Unfortunately, the only one I have to compare it to is this Obi-Wan Kenobi Darth Vader. The packaging is silver with white snowflakes and bangles all over. You'll also notice that the different character helmets tip the different snowflakes. Other than the character name, they keep it pretty simple. And on the side, we get a gift tag with to and from written in Galactic Basic. And I suppose if you were giving these as gifts, you could actually write names on them. A personalized backstory for each holiday character could have been fun, but not really necessary. And for packaging, I'm giving the Holiday Black Series 1 whole point. Moving on to presentation, both figures stand at just under 6 inches. And from the start, I should probably make it clear that this is my first proper Star Wars review. Not that I don't like Star Wars. In fact, I love it. It's just that there's so much product out there that it's kind of overwhelming. So a very small focus collection like this is more up my alley. The downside is that I'm not knowledgeable enough to be able to tell you where each individual piece comes from. Oh, don't get me wrong, I know this is all reuse, and based on the double jointed elbows and knees, I'm going to wager that they're even older figures. More recent figures have been switching over to single joint. That said, the Mandalorian does have single jointed elbows. Again, I'm just not knowledgeable enough to know where these individual parts came from, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. Also, I know that this isn't the Mandalorian, it's just a Mandalorian warrior, but if I call him Mando or the Mandalorian throughout the review, it just makes life easier. The main reason I wanted these were for the Christmas theme, and it is great. I particularly appreciate how well these two go together. They both have red helmets, green shoulder pads, and burgundy undersuits, green gauntlets, red belts, red knee pads, and green and white striped boots. Of course, what really makes them stand out are the ugly sweaters. The printed on knitted detailing is really well done. Obviously, the Mandalorian's is more Mandalorian specific. The Scout Trooper is just Grogu in his floating cradle. Definitely lots of straps and other bits and bobs that could have benefited from some paint detail, but for a glorified Christmas decoration, I'm pretty happy with what we got. These are already very busy designs, and I think if they did any more, it would have been too much. Also, is it just me, or do Mando shoes kind of look like Crocs without holes? Flipping those feet upside down, we could see some treads and a peg hole. The Scout Trooper has a lot more tread and 2 peg holes. I assume that's to better plug him into a speeder bike. If I had any criticism, it would actually be with Mando, specifically his empty blaster holsters, but that's going to be a conversation for playability. I got these figures for the gimmick, and for the gimmick, I'm very happy. For our presentation, I'm giving the Holiday Black Series 1 whole point. Moving on to posability, and these figures are very similar, but do have a couple of notable differences. For on the top, and both have heads on ball joints and disc hinges. Despite the limitations of the helmets, they can look up this far and down this far. The Scout Trooper is particularly impressive. The shoulder pauldron on the Scout Trooper is a separate piece that goes over. As a result, he can only really raise his arm this high. The Mandalorian one, by contrast, is sculpted onto the arm and goes underneath. This allows him to raise his arm up 90 degrees. They both have bicep swivel, but whereas the Scout Trooper's is higher and kind of concealed by the shoulder piece, the Mandalorian one is a lot lower and closer to the elbow. And speaking of elbows, again, the Scout Trooper has a double jointed one. Great range on that. Mandalorian is a single cut that unfortunately does not even make 90 degrees. There is a swivel in there, but with the bicep cut being literally centimeters above it, I'm not entirely sure why. Shifting the torso, and that's the other major difference between the two. The Mandalorian does have a diaphragm joint underneath his armor, but it's so low that it doesn't really give you much in the way of forward and back. Twist is fine though. The Scout Trooper, on the other hand, has his cut a lot higher, allowing for a lot more range. That being said, do mind the gap. Below the waist, and both figures have ball jointed hips. Scout Trooper can kick up this high, and because of those side pouches spread this far, the less encumbered Mandalorian can kick a perfect 90 degrees, but because of his worthless holsters, only spread this far. Traversing down the leg, and both have thigh cut, but the Scout Trooper's is very nicely hidden by this strap. Both have double jointed knees with very deep bends, and and both have ankles that can hinge and pivot, but the Scout Trooper has the added bonus of a boot cut. If this was a versus, the Scout Trooper would be the clear winner, but neither figure is bad. The Mandalorian would definitely benefit from better elbows. Even so, for posability, I'm giving these two 1 whole point. Before we continue, if you like this video, do me a favor and give it a like. Between Star Wars and Christmas, this review is a lot more different than my usual videos, and unfortunately, YouTube's algorithm doesn't really like it when you do something different. Your likes would really help. Moving on to playability, and each figure comes with 2 accessories. Based on these empty holsters, you'd think that Mando came with blasters. Instead, he comes with an Am-Bam Phase Pulse rifle. Considering that our first introduction in Star Wars to any Mandalorian was Boba Fett in a holiday special, and this is the weapon he had, I think it does actually make sense. Also, the white and orange palette puts me in mind of a Nerf gun, and if that's what Hasbro was going for, that's honestly pretty clever. He also comes with a bogling from the Jedi Fallen Order video game, painted of course for snowier weather. Not gonna lie, this thing is pretty stinking adorable. All my grumbling aside, I am actually pretty happy with these accessories. The Scout Trooper comes with the world's tiniest blaster. It's also painted like a Nerf gun. He can hold it, but it is admittedly kinda small for him. It does have a holster, but it doesn't click in place or anything, so definitely keep your eye out for the carpet goblins, or should I say carpet boglings. The Scout Trooper's most important accessory, however, is this satchel. It's been very cleverly painted like Santa's sack, and contains Grogu. We're going to talk about this more during price, but for the moment I just want to highlight that this is the reason why I bought this figure. Even though I know this isn't the Mandalorian, that's how I'm going to be treating this set, so I needed Grogu for him to feel complete. That being said, based on the show, I do get why he came with the Scout Trooper. But playability is more than just accessories, or in this case the lack of blasters. It's also about how well your figures play with others. Here are some figures from my very modest Black Series collection, and here we have Luke Skywalker and Yoda from the Empire Strikes Back 2-pack. Here we have Han Solo, pretty sure from the 40 Years collection. Hoth, Princess Leia. Here we have the 40 Years Chewbacca. The 40 Years Darth Vader, 3PO, and R2-D2. These are definitely from the 40 Years collection. Here we have Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Archive collection. Here's Lando Calrissian, pretty sure this is just the first release. And a 40th Anniversary collection Jawa. Lastly, for Star Wars anyway, and here we have the Client. Yes, I actually bought him just for the opening gag. Branching out to some other Hasbro lines, and here we have Egon from the Ghostbusters. Moving over to Marvel Legends, and here we have the 20th Anniversary Captain America, 80 Years Iron Man, and Retro Card Spidey. For a 6-inch DC figure, and here we have Rebirth Batman by Mattel, and Rebirth Batman from DC Icons. For a Mafex figure, and here we have Hush. For a wrestling figure, and here's Hollywood Elite John Cena from Mattel. And speaking of Mattel, here's the Masters of the Universe Masterverse, He-Man. For another Christmas figure, and here's the Holiday Harley Quinn we looked at last year. For a McFarlane Toys figure, and here's the DC Multiverse Arkham Knight Batman. I just picked this up for my upcoming Arkham City head swap video. For a relative scale comparison, here they are with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. And as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. Obviously, mixing and matching them with your other Star Wars figures isn't going to work, but that's not what these are for. These are pretty much meant to be novelty Christmas decorations, and in that regard, I think they've done a great job. For playability, I'm giving these holiday Star Wars figures 1 whole point. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Mandalorian is a Target exclusive, the Scout Trooper is Walmart, and the rest are spread across GameStop and other outlets. If you want the thrill of feeling like an actual bounty hunter, that could be fun, but for the most part it just feels needlessly frustrating. The bigger issue as I see it is that each one costs $28. For some perspective, the Client's a new skull with multiple accessories and only costs $24.99. The premium price is supposedly because of the premium paint job, but not every figure in the wave has this. That said, I do think it's interesting how Hasbro can price this Grogu like an accessory when he's usually priced like a separate character, especially when this version has a lot more plastic. For price, I'm giving these figures half a point for a grand total of 4.5 out of 5. For more Christmas, check out a couple of these videos from last year, and sound off in the comments to let me know if you'd like me to review more Star Wars holiday figures, or at the very least more Star Wars in general. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice, have fun, and remember, this is the way.